Any leadership that teaches you to depend upon another race is a leadership that will enslave you. Any leadership that teaches you to depend upon another race is a leadership that will enslave you. They gave leadership to our foreparents, and that leadership made them slaves. But we have decided to find a leadership of our own to make ourselves free men. Our great scholars have inspired through the colleges and universities have thrown away the blessed record. Babylon did it. Assyria did it. France under Napoleon did it. Germany under Prince von Bismarck did it. England under America under George Washington did it. Africa with 400 million black people can do it. If you cannot do it, if you are not prepared to do it, then you will die. When I am dead, wrap the mantle of the red, the black and the green around me, for in the new life I shall rise up with God's grace and blessing. And lead the millions of the heights and the triumph that you will know. Look for me in a world when I was calm. Look for me off grave. I shall come back with countless millions of black men and women who have died in America, those who have died in the West Indies, and those who have died in Africa to aid you in the fight for liberty, freedom, and life.
The Lord is blessing me right now. Yes, the Lord is blessing me right now. Understand them words in this moment. This is August. We would not be able to be here if it wasn't for Marcus Mosiah Garvey and how he influenced Jeramogi Abegbe Ajamin. God is blessing me right now to be able right here in this pulpit bringing thus the Lord. Yes, yes. I bear witness to the presence and power of God that is in this place. I bear witness to the gathering ancestors that have come here to share wisdom, protection, and guidance on our journey towards the liberation of black people. I bear witness to this messianic, transformative practices in this community that is geared to lead a seeker to the experience of God. Yes, the Lord is blessing me right now. This is a sacred month for us. And for me, the month of August is just as powerful as our anniversary month here to come, because it connects who we are as people. Here at the Shrines of the Black Madonna, we are the fulfillment of the vision of Pan-Africanism. Here we stand under the banner of the red, the black, and the green. Here we say there is nothing more sacred than the liberation of black people. Here, we know when I say, it's always nation time. So in the honor of Marcus Garvey, repeat after me. One God, one aim, one destiny. Again, one God, one aim, one destiny. Yes, yes. Now, we always talk about the man's mission. We talk about the man's achievements. We talk about the influence of Marcus Garvey. But today, we're going to talk about the spiritual enlightenment of a man born one bellowed a freedom song that was heard by the entire diaspora. We're going to talk about the spiritual awareness of man. No far past middle school yet, he created the UNIA, the United Negro Improvement Association, largest black organization since the abolishment of slavery. We're going to talk about the spiritual awareness of a man. Pull together the wealth of a black nation through cooperative economics. Yes. Our sermon topic is Garvey, a vessel of the supreme God. Garvey, a vessel of the supreme God. Can we say one God? Yes. God of the vision came from Marcus Garvey. Our scripture reference comes from we do that again. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word it was in the Gospel of John, and that Gospel is unlike other than three Gospels. There were 4 accounts of Jesus. 3 of them gave the earthly beginning of Jesus. But John said, I can't explain who the being of Jesus was without taking it back, his source code. Now, when you look at the source code, he said, again, in the beginning there was Word. The Word was with God, and Word was God. That's how he started the beginning of Jesus' journey. So I said, well, the power of Marcus Garvey deserves the same right to take the creation story. However, my favorite creation story comes from Genesis 1, 26, 27. Said, let us make man in our own likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, the fowl of the air, over the cattle, all the earth, and over every creeping upon earth. So God created him in his own image, and in female, he created them. Now, the reason why I like this particular creation story instead of the 2 that is out there, he created male and female. And in African cosmology, they always say God created man and woman simultaneously, one coming from the other. Why? Because in that understanding, it will say that, well, God did not know that man was going to need some company. And that doesn't make sense to me. And then it also says that man and woman share the spiritual relationship and responsibility from God equally. Right, that's my particular faith. Now it says, man in our own image. This was divine consciousness speaking to fragments of its divine. How do we know this? In the Isaiah 1:5, it reads, before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. And before from the womb, I said, sanctified. Sorry. I knew the verbs. And I ordained thee, the prophet of nations. Again, before I formed you in the womb, I knew thee. And before thou comest forth from the womb, I sanctified thee. And I prophet of nations. We all are manifested in spirit before we become flesh. We are all fragments of divine consciousness and ordained to carry out a life assignment. And when multiple fragments of divine consciousness come together, it increases our ability to access the higher state of divine consciousness, which is God. And that Pentecostal of power, that experience. It was divine consciousness, flesh, coming together under one accord to fulfill the assignment. Can we say one God? Now, on a regular basis, online, and I'm teaching the Alkebulan Inspirational Sunday every Sunday. And it was happening to start a whole new lesson. Lesson says, we are the steam of God. We are God's steam. I said, it works well for Mark. And it says, we are the science. We are the technology. We are the engineering. We are the art. We are the mathematics of God. We are the science of God. Taking to the beginning, the source code. You cannot understand the man until you understand source. God made the universe with 100 different elements. And we, as a being, contain 60 of those 118 elements. That is, which is when we say we are the substance of God. We are cosmic energy, and we are intelligence. One of the things that are, when we say we are the substance of God, kids, on the miracle of the atom. That's the smallest particle in the universe. Small particle in the universe. Now, in the atom, you see it vibrating. Put it under a microscope, it's vibrating. When it slows down, it's a solid, liquid mass. Now, the miracle about the atom is that nobody can tell where the energy is coming from that vibrates the smallest particle in the universe back and forward. No one can tell. Energy goes, speeds up where it slows down. This particular energy in everything that exists in the universe. You can't anything that is removed from this energy, the small of mass, back and forward. We are God's technology, a vessel made to house divine consciousness. In the church, we say, are energy beings. Now, beings we have 7 chakra points, energy points through our body. From the root to the sacral, the root basic chakra in terms of your energy field is not turned on, you do not feel safe. The sacral chakra is for sexuality and creativity. If that's not on, you're not creative. You have a block there. If it's turned on, you can say, I am creative. If your root chakra is turned on, you can say, I am safe. The one above it says, it's your solar plex, which is the area for your wisdom and your power. Here, you say, I am strong. That energy flows up. The heart says, it's healing in love area. The throat chakra is for communication. It says, I am excited. The third eye is the awareness. It's you're connected to your culture, your heritage, your people. I am connected. Energy rises up. It reaches your crown. You can say, I am divine. We are now getting to know who we are via our source code. We are God's engineering, those organically designed instruments that keep the God body. The first thing that we don't think that this is God's dwelling, not your own. It doesn't belong to you. I'm dealing with the children. When you want to get someone to function their best self, you have to connect them back to their source. So the organs, the cells, and blood. Whole sermon on blood. When I'm putting together, blood it holds memory. Now, if you ever have a blood transfusion, somebody takes something out you and you put it on them, they say sometimes people have thoughts from where they came. God's engineering. Now, my favorite out of this when I'm looking at myself, my source code is my pineal gland, my melanin, and African DNA. Now, in dealing with the African DNA has two levels. It holds information. So you sit down and you come into this world and you're trying to figure out why you got something or know something, can do something that no one has ever taught you. It is information that is stored inside you. When you want to you go back to your source code because God said 250,000 years. Everybody else can't do that. We're going back to understand our source code. The DNA also has an unraveling information that comes out. Unraveling information. And they can't tell you where this unraveling comes from. Meaning, and pull it from my chin, the code begins to change to say, grow back. If you are sitting down, losing weight, or you're changing things, the code that changes according to your behavior. It's not automatically set. It changes from second to second, day to day, minute to minute, hour to hour, year to year. You cannot stop this source code from unraveling. You got to know how special you are in the Creator. So if you begin to describe anybody, first start from where they begin. We are God's art. Our black is beautiful. That's our culture, our heritage, and our tradition. Black is beautiful. Now, you have 2,400 in Africa. You have 2,400 ways for somebody to express themselves in God. A people will change. It's developed around how they are connected to God. Why? Because no one people, no one culture can give a full definition of who God is. That's why we have differences. However, in our culture, in our heritage, it's what tells us we came first. Our black is beautiful. That's also that black love. That black love, I was speaking to Colonji in Texas yesterday, and they had a conversation about what is the best way for male and female interactions and connections. He said, man, brother, and we were calling and we were down questioning what he could talk about inside this particular conference he had. He said the house was packed. He said, man, 80 people showed up out of nowhere, fresh, not even members, not used to coming to the church, but wanted to talk about art, which is our black love, which is rooted of communalism, is our source. We are God's mathematics, completely made in perfect mathematical symmetry. vibrations. Every chakra vibrates at a different frequency. Every organ vibrates at a different frequency. You can tell. I walked in here, I'm going to tell him myself, Bishop Jabari. I walked up in here this morning, and he looked at me and he said, brother, your blood pressure high. And he was not telling the truth. He wasn't lying. He was telling the truth. And so he asked me, how you doing? I was like, man, brother, you know, I was up last 2 days trying to write this sermon. I wasn't getting no sleep. I ain't been to sleep yet. I'm going to go to sleep after. But I looked at him and I said, how you know? He said, brother, we're energy beings, and I could feel you when you walked in the room. We are God's mathematics. In the beginning, there was the Word. The Word was with God, and the Word was God. And he said, let us make man. We are expressions of one God. Just one God. Now the phrase thyself comes from Egypt, and it's Luxor. The term was appropriated by the Greeks. So when you start hearing, know thyself, that too. The whole world was influenced by African civilization. But now, Mark's opinion and philosophy of Marcus Garvey, we're about to get to it now. He states, for man to know himself is for him to feel that there is no human master. There is nobody above you but God. So whoever you choose to answer to, make sure it's only God. Now, when you're in an organization, that is not the person that rules over you. That is the person that walks with you. He later adds, to me, a man has no master but God. If 400 million Negroes can get to know themselves, they will know that they have a sovereign power in. It's an authority that is absolute. And if they can get to know that authority next 24 hours, we will have a nation, will have an empire. Garvey was tapping in to his source code. Now, it was never spoken about where did Garvey develop his understanding in relationship to God. We hear the history of the journey, but it's never a talk like where did this man get the insight of the one God, that oneness that we have together, that we share all humanity. When you sit down and you know it was a oneness, because Garvey never had a problem with white folks doing what white folks they needed to do. He said, let the yellow man do what the yellow man gonna do. What we are concerned with is how we see ourselves in God's eyes and what we choose to create for ourselves. Let them be. It's about us. When he started down the journey of understanding who God was, it comes from his mother. Now, African cosmology would come see a woman who's expecting, and he had the ability to speak to the spirit, because that spirit existed before it manifested in the womb. And so had that channel of God power tuned in, where they could speak. Some was chosen to be able to speak to that ancestral realm. Speak to those spirits that are coming in. Speak to the spirits that was going. Jesus was able to do the same thing when he was transposed. They saw him speaking to Moses and Elijah. This is not something that is out from us. I know when I had my daughter, I could only come up with one name. I didn't know if it was a boy or a girl. I walked in there and I said, okay. She said, what's the name? I said, I hope it's a girl because I only got one. And it was the energy speaking to me. Don't give me, Daddy, nope, I don't like that. Daddy, that's not going to be my name. Nope, Daddy, that's not it. That's it. And she loved it, and she lives it. In African spirituality and culture and cosmology, this is why, and we always tell kids, if you have a problem connecting to your source code, ask yourself, what is the definition? Anytime you have you're dealing with the issue of depression, say your name, say your whole African name, and say the meaning of the name, and reconnect yourself to your source code. Mother Mosiah Garvey, they said she wanted to name him Moses. So she sat there with her hands on her stomach, interacting with the spirit that is in her. Now, according to what I've learned about the sacredness of the womb, in those 9 that she had in her stomach, to call him Moses. Look at what Moses did. Look at what Garvey did. Holding him. 9 months, that is the first and only time where you will have divine consciousness. 2 entities of the fragments of God in one temple. They are unified. God said, where 2 or more gather, there shall I be. So a woman is expected, all she has to do is connect that which she carries. She becomes the most powerful thing walking on the face of this planet. And if she chooses to pray, talk, and tarry with her child will come out and be what they discussed. It's a connection. Moses, Messiah, Garvey had told God, it was unlike Garvey, because Moses told God, I can't speak. I can't do this. On the other hand, whose mother said, I'm going to call you Moses. Your middle name is Mosiah. She said, Garvey had a passion for memorizing word. Now, he comes out, remember the beginning, a natural passion. He was 20, and if we go back, that means his throat chakra was open. So this energy is flowing up. It's up, he's right here, he's wide open. And by the time he was 20, he was a printer. His existence. Standing where he would say, the pen is mightier than the sword, but the tongue is mightier than both put together. Garvey started from the womb. Sermon that Bishop Mwenda did that always sticks with me, and it's what governs me. And he said, you can tell a man or a woman, let me stop that, throw the sisters out first. You can tell a woman who is called by God and pure vessel of God, or what she needs to do, and no one needs to tell her anything about it. Now, when you know who he was, let's go back to his source. The life moment where Garvey surrendered as a vessel for God to use was on a ship going to Central America. He bear witness to the global disasters of black reality. And in his words, he said, where is the black man's government? Where is his king and his kingdom? Where is his president? Where is his ambassadors? Where his country? Where is his men of big affairs? Not see them. Then he declares I will help make them. He said his head was on fire. Now, when you talk about my head was on fire, the chakras, the energy straight up, coming straight down. He had full sense of consciousness of who he was in God. His I ams. Now, I am is the two most strongest words in the dictionary because it's how you speak word, how you get your word to manifest in life. I am safe. I am creative. I am strong. I am love. I am expressive. I am connected. Now I am divine. And so Garvey set out to build something that no one, which is Black Nation. Garvey understood the manifestation of infinite divine consciousness. You see that when he says, if I die in Atlanta, my work shall only begin. If I die, my work shall only begin. I'm just getting started. I came here with an assignment. I'm going to pass or fail. I'm going to live my assignment. I'm going to do my assignment. I'm going to produce what I can produce with my time here. And I know that there is nothing more sacred than the liberation of Black people. So when I cross over, I guarantee you I will not rest in peace. We say here, we will rest. You can tell he was connected to his source when he says, if you call me, you can find me in the whirlwind. Now, I did not understand that when I first heard that. I'm sitting down as a kid going outside looking at the rain, trying to figure out, Garvey, are you there? Up until you start liberating Black people, you start working on the Black nation, you start doing the work that God has called. And you need some help stepping forward. And you reach back to try to understand those who were gone before. And you yell somebody's name. I had a friend of mine was talking about why do, when just before Black men who are getting assaulted, call their mamas? So why do they call their mamas? So do you understand when a man is about to die and he's screaming for help or he's screaming stop, after a while the ancestors respond. Sometimes it's mama that show up. She sometimes say, baby, it's your time. He calls her name because he sees her. He calls her name because they're there. That's a connection. So when Garvey said, you're going to find me in the whirlwind. Because if we are connected to our source, we are who God called us to be, we're doing what God calls us to do, I will be there for you with millions of those who died in the Americas, millions who have died in the Caribbean, millions have died from the motherland. We will be there by your side. Garvey knew we was infinite, divine consciousness. None of our ancestors rest in peace. They all rest in power. Now, I had a closing, right? And it started switching when I heard Bishop Adah start praying and talking for our community. And I was sitting back there, and I could hear Garvey talking to me. Because there is worry about our community. There's worry about our existence. There's worry about our movement. There's worry about our focus. And God, I could hear Garvey speaking. Your ancestors are in the room. They are surrounding the walls. And they're asking you, do not forget your source. You are a different people. You are a different group. You did not come up in this 68 years of Christian service building on the red, the black, and the green, becoming the definition of Pan-Africanism to watch it fade. He said, tell the elders, I said, call your children and remind them who they are in their source code. Remind them who their African name means. Get back in touch with them. Get your group leaders to contact your groups. Do not allow COVID to separate the Messianic community. Do not allow COVID to disconnect us from the liberation of black people. Do not allow COVID to let us forget that there is nothing more sacred than the liberation of black people. We have infinite energy being sent to us. Those who are here, reach out and grab more, because our time is not done. They say rest in power when you leave. We're going to live in power now and do the job. Do not allow relationships to keep you from what God called you to do. Do not allow the reasons why I don't like this one. I don't like the way they doing it. I don't like the way they doing it. This, I don't agree with this. However, do you agree with the liberation of black people? If that's the case, sit down, talk to each other, work it out, because BCN is the answer.